All right, guys. So you just watched a video that told you what the three parts of an inference are. Now I want to take you through an example, because that's what you're going to be asked to do is make an inference based off of a passage or a picture or a video. I'm going to show you an example of a passage and how you make a complete inference from it. So pay attention to this because you'll have to do this on your own several times, several practice times to really figure out if you all can make an inference or not. So use this video, pay attention. All right. So it asks to make a complete inference. Remember, that means you have to have inference, evidence, schema. So I'm going to take you through all three and how I picked that out of this one little passage. So it says Eric sat against a coconut tree and tried not to panic. He had been walking for hours and not encountered another human being. There was only jungle, sand, and limitless ocean. Suddenly, Eric leaped up and ran to the water's edge, waving his arms frantically. So, if you're asked to make a complete inference, that means you need to label all three parts just like this. So, this is your model. Anytime you're asked to, this is what you go by. So, my first thing, I got to make my inference. I got to make my educated guess about what's going on here. So, I infer based on my evidence that I picked out and based on what I already knew before I read this, I'm going to infer that Eric is stranded alone on an island. He sees help approaching and tries to get their attention. So it's kind of two parts, I guess. First of all, I infer that Eric is stranded alone on an island. Does it say anywhere about an island? No. So it's an educated guess. It doesn't say the word alone, but it does say he has not encountered another human. It doesn't say he's stranded. I picked that out from evidence. It doesn't say that there's help coming. I think that help is either a boat or an airplane. But it doesn't say that it's a boat or an airplane. It just says he runs to the water's edge waving his arms. So the inference is not something directly stated. If I said, I infer Eric has been walking for hours by himself, duh. That's not an inference. That's not an educated guess. You're just stating the obvious. So an inference has to be something you come up with based on the evidence, based on the text. So don't get that confused. All right, next step is I need to list, how did I know this? What evidence in the text helped me come up with this? So remember, I'm citing direct evidence, so I need quotation marks. So the first thing is, if I think about alone, I'm going to pull the part that says not encountered another human being. So that tells me he's alone. He has not seen another human being. So there's my evidence for that part. As far as me thinking it's an island or me inferring that it's an island, my evidence is the fact that jungle was used, sand, and limitless ocean. That's evidence that helped me decide and infer that it was an island. And then to help me decide that he sees help, he was waving his arms frantically. Now, I could add ran to the water's edge waving his arms frantically too. But just for time's sake, I'll just put that. So these are three different pieces of evidence that helped me come up with this inference that I pulled word for word from the text. And last part, schema. You all overthink this sometimes. Your schema is just, what did I already know about this situation going in that helped me come up with that? Because I had to know more than just the evidence to get to that conclusion. So I think about, all right, if I start with the transition of typically, that kind of shows, all right, usually in most situations, I've already known this, I've seen it before. So typically, if someone is waving in a panic, so it says they're frantically waving, he's trying not to panic. So if someone is waving in a panic, they need help. If they need help, so like help, or like, so if I think about that, it's um, an island are surrounded by water. So islands are surrounded by water. That's what background knowledge I knew when it said limitless ocean. This is probably an island. Surrounded by water, so it would have to be a plane or a boat that were coming to help. This also schema, you could also think about it as like you've probably seen movies, you've probably seen TV shows of people lost on an island. Um, so all these two things put together, evidence, not encounter another human being. He's at a jungle, sand with limitless ocean. He waves his arms frantically. That plus my background knowledge of if someone's waving, they need help. Islands are surrounded by water, so it'd have to be a plane or a boat. These two things put together helps me come up with the educated guess, the inference that Eric is stranded alone on an island and he sees help approaching and is trying to get their attention. Evidence plus schema equals inference. You're going to have to do this yourself here in just a second for the next part. So hopefully this helped.